Welcome to Season 1, Episode 4 of 700 Pelham Road Podcast. I am your co-host, Jalen Cooper, and opposite me is my buddy, Caleb Williams. How you doing tonight?
It's been a
It,
weekend, man. I'll tell you what.
oh yeah. We have college football, we have professional football. For those of you out there, we have the U.S. Open in tennis. What a great storyline. I mean, sports all around this weekend.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill sucks.
It's okay. My Steelers didn't do much better. And we ain't gonna talk about that though.
It's all good. It'd be like that sometimes.
It really do be like that. It has not been a good week for me sports wise, or weekend for me sports wise. But we pick it up, we pack it up, and we keep it moving on. Uh,
Yep.
that's the name of the game. Every week is a new week. I'm hoping that our own Jack State Gamecock football team can live by that mantra because this past weekend is not necessarily something you want to hang your hat on.
Nope. I mean, I'll put it short and sweet, and then we'll get into it. Um, we got some stuff to figure out in this bye week, man.
Yeah, we do.
We got some
Um,
stuff to figure out. Coastal kind of exposed us on
yeah,
offense.
exposes big time.
They showed us that we got some stuff to fix before we hit the. I mean, we're about to hit the media schedule, but before we kind of get into that October schedule, we got to fix some stuff.
Oh yeah, but that's usually what comes. Just the growing pains of moving up to the FBS. Some schools have more growing pains than others. You look at James Madison last year when they moved up. They were able to transition fairly well, fairly easily. Um, but not everybody happens like that. Some teams, you got to get punched in the mouth a couple of times, and maybe that's our route. That's what the first couple of seasons are for anyway. Not like we can win the conference or go to a bowl game. Um, but it's a step up, and that was definitely our wake up call. Um,
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Coastal's a good team, but I mean, we had chances. I think we were up what 10-9 at halftime.
down
Um,
10-9.
we're down 10-9. Yeah, really should have been up. A couple scores, but I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this. QB play was inconsistent. We couldn't push the ball down the field, and modern football, if you can't push the ball down the field, um, it tends to become a situation where you can't put the ball in the end zone. And I think that's one of the big issues with the team this year. And it was even a little bit of an issue last year is we get inside the 30 and we just don't feel comfortable throwing the ball in the end zone. And you could kind of tell Saturday night that was the problem. We just running game was elite. I mean, we ran the ball up and down the field. We just could not throw the ball. It's just getting exhausting almost to say this, but I'm going to say it and then I'm going to get off of it because I was really frustrated watching the game. We've got to find a way to get Logan Smothers in the game at quarterback. There's no other way to say it. And I love Zion. I respect him for coming back for year 7. We got to get Logan in the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, especially with the tempo we're playing on offense, our defenses already aren't going to, or our defense already is not going to get much rest, at least not as much as your average, team would, because our offense is moving so fast. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're, sitting there getting a three and out, or even, only one first down the drive, you're only talking about 2 minutes off of the clock. The defense hasn't gotten to sit for that long. And if you put multiple three and outs back to back, or, multiple drives of only getting one first down, maybe two first downs, eventually they're going to get gassed. We just don't have the depth that some of these other teams, like a Coastal Carolina, is going to be afforded because they've been at this top level and have been able to recruit, these top level guys for so long. We're still fresh. We're still scratching the surface. So we really, when it comes to games against teams like Coastal Carolina, we really have to be in our A game from the beginning, just so that we can get that buffer, so that when the opposing team's depth starts to win out, we still have a little bit of a buffer there. We can somewhat protect ourselves, give ourselves some insurance early.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it in the group chat a lot during the game. Um, one of the issues with you mentioned tempo and how fast we're going, but another thing with tempo is that this isn't not everyone thinks about it when they mention tempo, but if you're going fast, you have to pick up first downs. Um, you can't go fast and then get 3 and outs because your defense is off the field for a minute and then they're right back on it.
Yep.
And at times we picked up first downs, but it was when we were running the football. We didn't have a lot of conversions through the air. At least not until Logan came in the game. He threw the ball really well there at the end. That's really been our issue this year is when we get going and we're picking up first downs, we're pretty hard to stop. And the defense is getting plenty of rest, but at the same time, the offense is scoring a lot of points. But against Coastal, we were not getting first downs. And so the defense was getting gassed. And we saw there in the second half, we gave up, what was it? I think we lost 30. We gave up 20 points in the second half after giving up just 10 in the first. That's all fatigue. That's all that is fatigue, playing too many snaps and not getting enough rest because the offense isn't playing well enough. So, I would not be opposed to actually backing off of the tempo a little bit. Hey, honey. I'll be opposed to backing off the tempo a little bit just until we get some rhythm in the passing game. I'd love to see us slow it down just a little bit and give the defense a little breather because, Coastal's not the last challenge we've got. We have Liberty and Western Kentucky coming up. I can tell you right now, if we have that kind of fatigue up from defensively against Western Kentucky, they may put up 60.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to that.
It's just one of those where, like, if you look at the box score, Zion wasn't horrible. He was 9 of 18 for 150. So that's an average of about 8 yards a pass. But it was just when you look at some of those drives in the first half that ended in field goals, it just seemed like some of the reads were off, some of the throws were off. And, it was at points in the drive where we were moving it down the field. And that's just kind of what kills you is, when you get that momentum going and then all of a sudden something happens and it's just like you think you're going for 7, then abrupt stop, you only get 3. And like you said, it's one of those where maybe it's just time to switch it up at quarterback because Logan came in. He didn't get to pass a lot. He only got 10 attempts. He completed 7 for 57 yards. So, pretty good results there. But it's one of those things where the quarterback situation has to get figured out. We're getting to that point in the season where we're lucky to have a bye week. We played in week 0, so we get that early second bye week. We have to iron this out now. I don't want to go past this point playing the dual quarterback system. We've already talked about it. I know other fans have mentioned it. I don't want to go past this point balancing 2 quarterbacks. JSU has tried it several times. It doesn't work. I hate it. The offense can never find a rhythm, especially because both quarterbacks play slightly differently. And even though it's slightly different, it still makes a world of difference on the field, especially when it comes to, play calling in certain situations. So we just got to iron it out. You got to pick somebody and go with it. I don't get paid enough to make that decision. But, I think at the end of the day, our fans want the coaches to just say, this is our quarterback. we're sticking with him, unless something drastic happens. I need to know who our quarterback is going, week in and week out. And I think it would be a lot better for the offense too, just to know like this is the game plan because this guy is, under center for the whole game.
Yeah. It would be different if Zion were bigger, because then you could argue that, you bring him in as kind of a short yardage, passing wildcat quarterback, but he's like 6'1", 190, right? I mean, he's just not a big guy. And so it's tough to justify when you've got Logan, who's like 6'3", almost 220, and still runs pretty well, as well as throws the ball. Like, no, he hasn't hit any big throws, but I mean, he's completing like 76% of his passes right now. Like, he's very accurate. He keeps the chains moving. I mean, the way we run the ball, we don't need a guy looking like Joe Burrow. We don't.
No.
We just need a guy who can make the easy throws and keep the chains moving. And right now, we were at the first game, just about front row. There were several, whether it was wheel routes, little hitch routes, even maybe a little out route, where Zion just airmailed receivers and running backs. And, we've seen Logan, especially last week. When he got the start in place of Zion when he was sick. A lot of those throws that were being missed by Zion are being made by Logan. And no, they're not hard throws, but they're throws that need to be completed if you're going to be a starter, as at the Division I level. And look, I'm not a QB's coach. I'm not going to pretend I am, and I'm not going to pretend I know everything that goes into playing the position in Rich Rod's offense. I mean, obviously you've got to run zone read, and you've got to run RPO, but if you know that you're not hitting deep shots with either QB, you should be taking the guy who's at least making the easy throws, and that's not Zion right now. And I respect Zion. He's fought harder from multiple injuries. He stayed for 7 years. I think 5 of which are JSU.
Yeah.
I think he transferred after year 2 in college. So, I mean, he's fought through a lot, but at some point, a good story is just that. And good story and good football, there's got to be an in between. Right now, there's none of the good football on offense right now. Yeah, we're running the ball well, but it's 2023. We got to be able to throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a quarterback coach or be a football coach in general. I'm not going to claim I know what goes on, in the meetings and the film sessions at practice. But I can tell you right now, just from assessing the fan base in general, a lot of them are calling for Logan Smothers. And again, fans aren't coaches. Fans don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes, everything that goes into making that call of, who gets the nod. But if you want that support, which is critical, in this transition period, you want that support and you want people to show up, no matter what. Eventually, you got to show them, some sort of progress or some sort of like, hey, we're committed to doing this. And, even though this guy has been with us for 7 years, maybe he's not the guy for now. It's just one of those where if it comes down to it and they decide Zion's not the guy, that's going to be a tough conversation. And, you got to rip the Band-Aid off, though. And I get it. Maybe Smothers doesn't have the playbook 100% down. If that's one of the factors, I think after a certain point, you would much rather him have those growing pains on the field than just kind of throwing the season away.
Yeah, I totally agree. And benching a guy is never easy. You mentioned ripping off the Band-Aid. It's never easy to bench a guy who's started so many games for you. But Rich Rod has always kind of banked his success on his quarterbacks, right? He's always had good play at the quarterback position. At Arizona, he had Khalil Tate, I think, led the country in QB rushing yards. At He didn't really have much at Michigan. He had Denard Robinson, but that was really about it. At Arizona, he had not at West Virginia, he had Pat White. And Pat White just about won the Heisman one of those
Yeah,
2
dude went
years.
off.
It's like he's always had, and even at Ole Miss, he had Matt Corral and John Rice Plumlee, one of whom is an NFL quarterback right now, another of whom could be an NFL quarterback, after this season. Like he's always had good QBs. I trust him. It's just year 2, right? And he was kind of handed. I don't. This is going to come off really mean. He was kind of handed a Make-A-Wish roster.
100%.
And anytime you're a new coach for a team that is either one jumping into the FBS level or is a new coach for a team that was just really, really bad, you're going to have, it takes 3-4 years to rebuild the roster to where you want it to be.
Yeah, we're not all, we don't get the Colorado with Dion treatment. He didn't bring any Louis with him, except for Rick Trickett. We got lucky.
He brought Rick Trickett, and that's always that's a big benefit at the OC position. But look, I trust Rich Rod. I mean, we've got 9 games left.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, as much as we wanted the Cinderella story of coming up, going 12-0, and being like, well, if it hadn't been for the stupid transition rule, at the end of the day, it realistically wasn't going to happen. We're gonna have our what you call welcome to the FBS game. It happened in week 3 for us, and it's just one of those where we have the bye week. Time to sit back, reassess, reevaluate, everything. Because the biggest thing is our defense, at least last week, first half, holding Coastal to 10 points. And, 10 points in the first half, holding Coastal to that is insane. But it's one of those where if the offense comes out and they're not able to sustain a long drive and, they're hitting 3 and outs or maybe only picking up 1 first down with the tempo we're playing, they're going to get tired, and that started to show. Which we were running the ball well, but once a team figures out we can't pass it, they're going to start, loading the box up with 8 guys, and at that point it gets hard to run the ball. And then if we can't pass it either, it's one of those things where we just kind of lose it, and that's the game.
Yeah. And, I'll touch on the running game, just from a schematic standpoint, because, you mentioned running the ball well, and, really we're just hoping that teams don't kind of figure it out. Rich Rod really uses 2 blocking schemes. He uses inside zone read out of 10 personnel, which is 4 wide, and then 11 personnel, which is, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. And then he uses us NCAA and Madden players know it as inverted veer, also known as power. It's also known as power read. That's really just the only 2 plays he uses is inside zone read and power read. It's not like Gus Malzahn where he runs like 9 different running plays out of a million formations. It's actually pretty easy to kind of figure out what the blocking scheme is going to be. If they're in a 4 wide set, you're either going to get inside zone or power read. If they're in a slant set where the running back is on the different side of the tight end, it's going to be split zone, right? It's pretty easy to kind of figure it out, and it works right now because the offensive line is playing so well. But like you mentioned, teams are going to start loading the box every snap. And you can only run zone read so many times before your QB gets hit. And I mean, we've all seen it. We saw it. We're recording actually Monday night, so this is being recorded not long after the end of the Jets Bills game. Um, I mean, A-Rod tore his Achilles tonight, and really, I mean, we were one play away from the QB room looking really bad because we don't have a passing game to take the load off of the QB, and they're having to run the ball so much. I mean, that I just wanted to kind of digress into that for anyone who was wondering, what Jalen might have said when it comes to, defenses figuring it out. It's not that hard to figure out. It's just a matter of deciding, do you want to, put 7 in the box and trust that Zion, if he continues to play, isn't going to make that one big throw that kind of blows the offense open. So,
Yeah, which, I mean, we've seen his arm. He can.
yeah.
It's not consistent. So, a lot of teams will get to that point to where they'll take that risk because, maybe 7 times out of 10, they're going to come out on top, it is what it is. You got to kind of sit back and just trust that the guys who are getting paid to make these decisions, know what they're doing. And I do. I don't know nearly as much as they do when it comes to the whole quarterback situation. Like I said, what goes on, in practice, the film sessions, the training room, there's a lot that goes into it more than just what we see on Saturdays. So maybe there's a lot that we're not seeing that warrants this. But I just know when the fans see Logan Smothers, they want Logan Smothers because it just, from a fan perspective, when he steps out on the field, at least, between the ETSU game and the snaps he had in this Coastal game, it seems like he has a much higher ability of moving the offense down the field more consistently in all aspects of the game. It seems like he's a better rusher and a better passer. And like I said, if he just doesn't have the playbook 100% under his fingers, let him have some growing pains if that's like the main thing stopping him. Let him have some growing pains on the field. It'll be what it'll be. This whole season in general is going to be about growing pains and trying to figure out what's the next step and how to recover.
Yeah.
So I honestly think, just we have seen Zion. We have seen what he can do. Not even just this season. We've been blessed, like you said, to have him a couple of years. I want to see what some others can do because at this point he can't redshirt anymore. I don't want to waste this year for him. You don't want to waste
No.
Zion's last year either. With him getting the waiver. But I want to see what some others can do in this offense. Once and not just against a throwaway team. I want to see him in a game that matters from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if we're honest, by the time he got in the Coastal game, it was garbage time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair to him.
No, it's not. I mean, if you removing myself from being a JSU alumni, being a current JSU grad student, being a JSU fan, I mentioned Rich Rod's QB history earlier. There's no way he can look at this and say, yeah, we've got our QB1 in Zion right now. I mean, he has to know this is an ongoing battle. I hate it. I hate the when QB battles go on this deep into the season. Usually when it does, it's because they just don't have anyone that really has it. I don't want to just speculate, but a lot of times when it goes on into week 3, week 4, even going into week 5, when we play Eastern Michigan, like it seems like a lot of times when the battle goes that deep, it's up here. And look, I'm not saying Zion doesn't have kind of that. Zion's probably got the most dog in him of anyone in that room.
Sure.
But dog only gets you so far, right? I mean, it really only gets you so far. So I don't know what it's going to take to see Logan get real, big time snaps. I would feel like, the way he's played the last two games when he's been in, obviously this last game wasn't much, but he's very accurate. He makes the good throws, makes easy throws, and right now that's all they're asking him to do. He doesn't have to be Joe Burrow. He doesn't have to be Caleb Williams or Bo Nix, right? So I if we get him some QB1 reps against Eastern Michigan, I really, really think that he could take control of the QB battle.
Yeah, I'm hoping with this bye week, it'll giving him an extra week will let them shake all of this out. Because, like you said, the QB battle going on longer. Most people will sit here and say y'all can't really do anything with this season anyway. So why does it matter? I just want some sort of consistency and some sort of momentum going into the offseason, going into recruiting season, going into, spring ball, coming back next year. Because, look, here's the thing. Zion's not getting another waiver for next year, no matter what. This is it for him. So I just want some positive momentum, some positive energy going forward for for the rest of the team and for the rest of the guys that will be here next year. Um, and I just think after a certain point, like you said, you just kind of have to let Logan do what he's going to do. Um, it's one of those where if our offense only stays on the field for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes at a time, we're going to get a lot of results like this. We got it's beating a dead horse, but for our level of football, we got a gauntlet coming up, and I would much rather not embarrass ourselves and go 0-5. We have both seen how the Gamecock faithful will switch on you as a head coach, in the blink of an eye. I came in 2015, we go to the national championship game, and then you see the fall from glory and fans calling for Coach Gross's head, starting around 2018, 2018, really the end of 2017. And I don't want that for Rich Rod. He's a great coach. I think a lot of fans think highly of him,
Yeah.
especially after his introductory press conference. And you just want to keep the fan support on your side. You want people to show up to games because we've also seen the extremes of that. I have seen JSU Stadium packed out to where it's standing room only for a football game. And then I've also seen it where, you have the Southerners, you have parents, and you have, some of the faithful sprinkled around. And you may be lucky to have 3,000 people there. And you definitely don't want – I don't want to go back to that era of JSU football, especially now with this beautiful stadium remodel coming up.
Mm-hmm.
To pack the fan. I want the fans to be able to pack the stands out, be proud of the product that is on the field week in and week out.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, we got a few. I said it earlier. We got 9 games. The good is going to come. It's going to come. You just touched on it. New, stadium renovation. The field house is going to look great. They're going to really kind of close in. I don't even know which direction is that end zone. They're going to close in. They're going to close in that end zone a lot more, so it'll look a little more, at home versus just kind of an open air stadium. It'll look a little more closed in, look a bit better. They're going to go in and clean up and renovate the. Rumor has anyway. It's not confirmed, but they'll go in and clean up the away stands after this season and kind of get it into a really, really good shape for being a Division One FPS stadium. The future of the program is bright, and you touched on JSU fans turning on coaches in a heartbeat. I think the good thing about Rich Rod is he's a name that you can kind of bank on and look back on his history and say, hey, this is a guy who's coached in 2 Power 5 conferences as a head coach, another as an offensive coordinator. He's been within a game of the national championship. He's beaten Marcus Mariota at Oregon twice,
Yeah.
and really gave Oregon fits in the Pac-12 championship game in 2014. Like he's coached everywhere he's been there and done that. So it's not like it's John Gross or it's a JSU legend. You're like, well, he doesn't have that much coaching experience to rely on. Rich Rod, you can bank on and say, hey, it doesn't look great now, but he's proven that he can win. So we just
Yeah.
have to give him time. So I mean, the good news is for Rich Rod, he's got time. I mean,
Yeah.
he could be here for 15 years if he wants to, because once he gets his rosters, he's going to start lighting up the scoreboard left and right. And we know that. We've seen it before. So, I mean, we saw it last year. I mean, it's not like this is just his first year. Like he proved to us last year that when he has equal talent, he typically wins a lot of games. So that's all that's holding us back now. Is our talent is a step below everyone else we're playing right now, and it's not anyone's fault. That's the nature of jumping from FCS to FBS. But I mean, we're in good shape. I look forward to getting this bye week over with and kind of getting some things figured out, and then seeing how they pick it up against Eastern Michigan. But it's a long season, and we got a long way to go. So.
Yeah. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, I don't like calling it a throwaway season because I think, we can still do a lot of good. But, as far as most people are concerned, it's a throwaway season. We can't win the conference. We can't go bowling.
Yeah.
So it's
well, we can win the conference. We can make a trophy.
okay. Yeah, we can conference. Make a trophy and buy rings, even if we finish in first and they don't recognize it. Been there, done that. Looking at you,
I wonder who did that.
looking at you, son. Yeah, for all intents and purposes, this is a throwaway season. So yeah, this is the year you want to experiment and figure out what does and doesn't work.
Yeah,
you just also don't want to lose the fan base. You want to reiterate to them that you're not satisfied with where you are right now, which he's doing a good job. The other coaches are doing a good job of it. You just really hope that the fan base sticks right there with you, through it all, which I think they will. I don't think it's after last year being a success. I don't think it's been long enough of the downswing. We say downswing. It's been 3 games into this season. But even at the end of the season, if we only manage to rip off 4 or 5 wins, I don't think that'll be enough to turn fans away. And if they do, they're kind of dumb, and they just don't understand football. But it is what it is. We have the bye week, and then we get to come back home that next weekend, the 23rd. So yeah, we got some time to figure it out. I think we can figure it out. I think we can turn this season around. It's definitely not too far gone. I'm looking right now. It looks like as of right now, we're favored to beat Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, they haven't started the season that well, from my understanding.
Yeah, we don't have a money line yet, but according to ESPN, they're giving us a 72% chance to win.
Let's see, they're 1-1, but game 1 they beat Howard 33-23, and then game 2 they lost to Minnesota 25-6.
Mm.
I'm no mathematician, but if you're playing Howard in football and you're winning by 10,
it's not a good sight.
Not a good sign. And then on top of that, if you're losing to Minnesota by 19, after what we just saw them do against Nebraska 2 weeks ago, it's not very good. So yeah, home game. It's going to be packed out because I think it's fall preview day, maybe. So
that might be homecoming.
Let me look at the schedule. It's one of the two.
I think that's homecoming. It may also be fall preview day, but I think that's homecoming because we're not doing a homecoming in October.
Let's see here. I know there's an
courtesy of.
it's there is a event. I just have to figure out which one it is.
Yeah, I know we're not doing homecoming in October, courtesy of Conference USA playing midweek games in October.
Yeah, thanks for the money, CBS. We'll really take it.
Yeah, no, that's homecoming because the next week we're away at Sam Houston.
It's both, yeah. So that's going to be a packed out game because you're going to have all of the visiting students as well as all the alumni.
Yeah, which we can get more into that on next week's episode. But yeah, I mean, it's a good week to have a reset for sure.
Yeah,
Sit back, sit back and evaluate the good and the bad. Which there's a lot of good. Our defense through the first 3 weeks, facing all three levels of talent that we've had, mid to bottom tier FBS or bottom tier FBS, mid tier FBS and Coastal, and then mid to top tier FCS and ETSU. Our defense has been pretty elite, at least when they're not gassed and
yeah.
completely tired. Um, some of the bad is we just don't have that depth, but that comes with making such a huge jump. We're just not going to have it yet, not until Rich Rod and his coaches and his recruiters can get out and work some magic. Offense, you look at the good. We've talked about it ad nauseum. The
Hmm.
running backs are killing it. I mean, we don't have Anwar back yet, and we thought Ron Wiggins was going to be the guy. The one guy. Um, Seems like Malik Jackson has been a very nice surprise.
He's a
Um,
stud.
Seems like he came in and just wanted that position to be his. Don't get me wrong. I still love Ron Wiggins. I still think it's a 1A, 1B type thing. But Malik Jackson has very much surprised a lot of people. And, hopefully we do get to see Anwar this year because that's a three-headed monster coming out of the backfield. And I just hope we can figure out the quarterback situation so that, whoever it is can complement those three guys and, our pretty solid wide receivers. Because I definitely think it can be a situation where this offense, once they finally, decide who it is, I think this offense can blow up and just go absolutely stupid. Because I mean, we got some dudes with some hands out there. Perry Carter, Sterling Galvin, obviously Sean Brown. See, we got him. JSU has a history of not using their amazing tight ends. We gotta keep people like Sean Brown involved. We got to keep
Yeah.
Sterling Gallman involved. Don't want those guys to feel like they're not truly part of the production of the team. Um, and that just all comes back to finding out the quarterback, figuring out the quarterback situation. Um, but hey, that's what weeks like this week are for, and that's what those coaches get paid the big bucks for.
Yeah, no kidding. You mentioned Sterling Galvan. Um, he actually was recruited to Texas Tech by by Cliff Kingsbury. Um,
Hmm.
before Cliff went to the Cards. So if he was recruited, I mean Cliff, air raid guy, knows how to throw the ball around. If he sees Sterling as a weapon, we need to see him continue to see him as a weapon and get him the ball. And, you mentioned Sean Brown. Outside of Trey Berry, we have not used our tight ends the way we need to. And Trey
And we
was a
didn't,
freaking cheat code. So
and we didn't even use Trey the way he should have been used that last season and a half we had him. But that's a totally different story. And I think once we figure out the quarterback situation, all of that will shake itself out. Because the middle of the field has been wide open. That's all I'm gonna say. Uh, the
yeah,
middle of the field has been wide open, and we have not utilized it enough. But overall, first 3 weeks of being at the FBS, I am I am very content.
yeah,
A lot of good to look forward to this season. Um, Definitely much better than what we could have been looking at. We roll with it. We get better. Next
hmm
is a new week. We don't have a game. But we still have a chance to get better. So next week is a new week for Gamecock football, and we keep it rolling. Other than
Absolutely.
other than that, in Gamecock sports, right now, as we're recording this, I got a Twitter notification earlier. The men's golf team is doing pretty well. They're at the Golf Week Fall Challenge, I think, in South Carolina. Um, one of the Carolinas. I know today they had uh, all five guys shoot under par. Um, and I think you said 9 out of the total 10 rounds that we've shot have been under par. Um,
Yeah, 9 of the 10 rounds of the tournament over between five guys were under par. Um, and the only over par round was a 1 over 73. So and they played well. They finished 7th out of 14th. So I mean, it was a good week for them. From what I understand, it was their first tournament of the fall. I hadn't really heard anything from them until this week. So
yeah, that was their first. And I know the women's golf team starts tomorrow, I believe, their second tournament. I think they're down in Mobile. Is it Mobile? Somewhere in South Alabama.
I think so.
Uh, but yeah, golf is underway. And for those of you who don't know, JSU, we have a celebrity or two in the golf world that decided to hit off the tees here in Jacksonville. Um,
Yeah, we got a Masters winner.
we got a green jacket.
Not many schools can say that.
No, not many schools at all. And people are like, well, he didn't go there for all 4 years. I don't care. He went there long enough for us to claim him. He was on our golf team. So we have a green jacket. Thanks, Danny Willett. We
We,
appreciate
yeah, it was good knowing you.
it. But I mean, yeah, golf is off to a good start. They're always, pretty solid. This is their first year in a little bit of a tougher conference, so curious to see how they'll fare out. I, I think that's the consensus across all of our sports is just kind of using this as a barometer to see where they shake out. Um, women's volleyball had a good run. They swept Arkansas Pine Bluff, so congrats to the ladies. As always, the volleyball team is spectacular. They always have a great season. So if you ever get a chance, go to the Pete and check out a game. Women's volleyball team will not disappoint.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, outside of JSU sports, this weekend has been pretty good. I know we mentioned earlier in the podcast, Colorado, the Dion train, Coach Prime, that man is rolling. I mean,
I did not see them starting 2-0. I saw them starting 1-1 because I didn't think Nebraska was going to be that good. I didn't think they'd go into Fort Worth and beat TCU, but hey,
yeah,
here we are.
I
Obviously, they
mean,
got USC and Oregon coming up, but hey, Oregon looked beatable this week against Texas Tech. Um, I mean, USC is USC. They got Caleb. They got the best player in college football. So I mean, you can't really. That's a different challenge, but we'll get into that once that game gets here. But I mean, they've got one of the best players in college football in Shedeur Sanders, one of the other best players in Travis Hunter, um, who's a monster. He's if you did Road to Glory or like career mode, and your player played running back and then safety and had like 300 yards and then 4 picks, that's Travis Hunter.
yeah,
And
no,
if you're playing on rookie mode as well, by the way. So
that man is crazy. I think so far through 2 weeks, he has like 250 snaps total or close to it if he doesn't have that number. If he can keep that up, I know he's going to break whatever record, if there is a record for the amount of snaps played in the season. Um, and if he can genuinely do it at a high level on both sides of the ball and stay healthy, I know, NFL execs are foaming at the mouth.
yeah,
Um,
no question. Here's the thing, I don't know what position he would play because He's too electric of a receiver to keep out of the offense. He's too good of a corner to keep off the field on defense, and but he's too valuable to put on special teams.
Hey, I mean, the Falcons came up with a new position, the Joker, so maybe he'll be the second Joker.
Yeah, maybe he's the next Cordero Patterson,
Yeah, I don't know.
except he plays defense as well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, as Deion Sanders says, do you believe now? Um,
I think we believe.
I think a lot of people are believing. Um, and I wish him the best of luck. I hope they keep rolling. Um, any other college football stories you want to hit on real quick?
It's not necessarily a college football story, but it certainly affects being able to watch college football. Um, Charter and Disney stopped hating each other finally. That I actually got an email in the middle of recording this saying that um, all Disney channels are back on Spectrum.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
so if you have Spectrum, you can watch ESPN now.
I saw Spectrum because I actually have Spectrum Mobile, so I opened up, my app the other day, and it said they finally made a deal. So glad they were able to figure that out. I feel like Disney, ESPN, whoever, always has that problem with one of the major providers every now and then where all of a sudden it's like, oh, if you have DirecTV or if you have Dish or if you have, in this case, Spectrum, you won't have ESPN or any other Disney channel because we can't come to a deal. Contact XYZ. And it's like, wow, can y'all really just stop playing around with people in there? Because it's one thing if you were to have this disagreement, say in the summer, because there's not really many sports going on. That's really the middle of baseball, so it's not super important.
Yeah,
You're doing this in the fall, like
the
right,
week one.
right at the beginning of college football and, heading into week one of the NFL. People are
Yeah,
mad. People are
and
not.
for it to happen in the literally like a minute into Florida Utah, you know the first game between two Power Five teams all season on a Thursday night. It's either that or UCF Kent State are the only games that people were watching, and that's when you decide to remove all your channel. It was just, it was funny, man. I'm glad they got it back because now I don't have to use my dad's dish just to watch Auburn every Saturday. I can actually put it on my TV now. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I know a lot of people were very much not happy, and in cases like that, I do not promote using non-traditional methods of watching sports, but you got to do what you got to do. If it's out there, use it. It's Saturdays and Sundays in the South. In the fall, you got to have your sports. There's a
yeah,
reason why they tell you not to have a wedding on the weekend in the fall in the South. You
yeah.
got to
I ain't gonna name drop any of those websites that may or may not have streams, but
have.
sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not I used one of those to watch the Titans game this Sunday, but um, it is what it is. So
It is what it is, indeed. Hey, if they're going to have it out there, you might as well. It's called using your resources that are available to you.
yeah, it's just being resourceful. It's being innovative.
Yep.
So
Well, I think that's it for me. It's a quiet week for Gamecock Nation. I did not look at the schedule for volleyball and soccer heading into next week. But that's really all we got. We got golf. Like I said, men's golf is wrapping up. Women's golf is about to start. No basketball yet. No baseball yet. No softball yet. Hey, we're so close to just having a jam-packed schedule.
yeah, we are not far. Once basketball, I think we mentioned it last week. Once basketball and baseball and softball are hitting, we're gonna have like 6 games a week to talk about.
Oh yeah. Let me see, because obviously we already have the basketball schedule. Let me see when that first game is. So we have an exhibition against Talladega College in the Pete on November 1st. So it's looking like, what's that, a month and a half from now?
Yeah,
So we got roughly 6 weeks, and then I think the first official game is on the 7th in Jacksonville versus Brescia. I don't know how to pronounce that, but
I've never known how to pronounce it.
we got about a month and a half before we get college basketball back in the Pete. Um, and after a couple of warm up games, we really get rolling. We got some good games in the Pete and on the road. Definitely going to have to make it to Jacksonville for a couple of those games because the Pete is electric. Oh yeah. I'm browsing at the schedule. We have Liberty on a Saturday in January. On a Saturday, I will be there.
Yeah, I
We
think I'm going to be at that one.
we got blessed to have Liberty on a Saturday. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be encouraging everybody I know to be there because that's a big one.
Yeah, you're going to see me and Jalen front row of the cock flock that game, causing all kinds of problems with the Liberty bench.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I mean, hey, we're close to basketball season, both men and women. And like I said, baseball and softball will be right behind them, right around the corner.
Yep,
I'm ready.
I'm so ready.
Well, I think that's it for me. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, just another week, another good episode.
You're right. You're right.
Oh well, should we break the news on the future of the podcast?
Hey, I mean, we can if that's what you want to do. I
All
totally
right,
forgot about that.
all right, yeah. So I think starting this next week, and I'm going to be working on it this whole week as we kind of get this episode, get ready to go. I will be working with our boss at Sidelines and Totem Pole Nation to start um, to get the 700 Pelham Road podcast on the Totem Pole Nation podcast network. Um, it's essentially going to be the Sidelines podcast network, and it's going to go through Totem Pole Nation, which is a great account on Twitter. Everyone go follow him at Totem Pole Nation. Really good football analyst, just loves the game. And we are going to be getting on that network, and we're going to try to get a lot of other podcasts through Sidelines on there, so it'll just be this one giant network. Some other news with it, we also got approved for Zencastr Creator Plus, so we're now officially monetized.
Hey, let's go.
We are officially monetized and waiting sponsorship offers.
Let's
So
go. Let's go. And
so
speaking of trying to bring other podcasts along with us, I know starting off it's just been us two, but we do have plans going forward whenever we start playing CUSA teams to link up with some of the other podcasts, trade episodes. So, there will be episodes where there are guests, whether it be from opposing schools. We're still gonna try and bring some JSU guests on. We've had a couple people actually talk to us about it. So coming here soon, you will hear and see other faces and hear other voices. So yeah, we're heading into a great time for this podcast, and I just hope it gets better. As always, if y'all can think of any feedback, positive and negative, I want to hear it all. You can always um, either leave a comment under whenever we say we posted the episode. You can DM us. We're both very active on X. I call it Twitter. We're both very active, and we will, get to your message. We will try our best to respond. If you go a long time without us responding, leave a comment. We see those a lot better and a lot clearer than we see direct messages sometimes. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. You know, we want to hear it all. We want to get
Yeah.
better, just better for everyone. But
Yeah.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah. I think that's everything I got.
Well, you have a good night. Stay safe, and see you next week.
Yes, sir. 700 Pelham Road signing off.